All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, Heck, Goose, and Georgie.
What's up?
Jack of all trades, part 2. In this episode, we have special guest George Berdomas. We cover topics that range from multitasking, importance of focus, embracing/recognizing opportunity, raw hustle, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Lucille Ball and Zig Ziglar. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, George, thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys here.
No, we appreciate you. We're just appreciating. It's a day of appreciation.
It's always the way to be.
All right. So, George, we had you on the show, episode 179, over 2 years ago.
Wow. Sheesh.
Isn't that,
lots changed.
And a lot's changed, okay? He grew out his eyebrows. Anyway,
grew out everything. Lost a little bit of weight.
I like it, man.
Can fit into my clothes.
All right, so obviously we're going to recommend folks to tune into episode 179, but for general purposes, those of us who do not know who you are and what you do, let us know.
Sometimes I really don't even know what I do half the time because...
Sometimes half the time.
It could be a quarter at this point. So I work for the government in New Jersey as a HR consultant or assistant, and then also I'm a real estate agent. I marry people. I play drums in a couple bands, but for the most part, for my full-time career, doing that for almost 9 years, and going to be transitioning actually to a new job at the end of this month, and as an executive assistant for the Division of Air Quality. So,
wow.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's definitely going to be out of HR, but it's kind of just like something different. You got to take a leap of faith, literally, to try something that you get used to being comfortable, but then sometimes you got to take a risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so this is titled Jack of All Trades. So what you just said is super appropriate, right? You're doing a bunch of things, right?
Yeah.
And successful. So there's people out there who do a bunch of stuff, but they're just not good at it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like what a mess, right? But
amazing.
You're juggling a bunch of things and you're successfully doing them, right? Because when you were here 2 years ago, you had the same job, you had the same career, right? You were a drum player, right? Like you did all these things and you still maintain it. So what is the balance? How do you juggle all this?
It's mainly listening to a lot of music.
Yeah.
To keep me calm, but it's most important is time management. It's everything. You only have 12 hours in a day, and you have 8 to sleep if you're lucky, and the other 4 is to kind of relax if you can relax. But with my jobs, it's definitely it's tough, but overall it's a sacrifice, but it's worth it, for what I can do, what I have right now, and I'm very blessed to be able to have the opportunity to tell people out there you can do a bunch of different things, from being a dishwasher now to helping people with their forever home, or helping them get married.
Yeah, or if they're a forever partner.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Scary if you think about it. Right?
That really is. So I like the two others are somewhat entrepreneur, right? So the real estate agent and marrying partners together. Do you work around, obviously, your full-time job?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm grateful to be able to still work. I work Tuesday through Friday. I get off every Monday.
Okay.
Nice. So, I don't know if it's going to happen with the new job, but it's nice to be able to have that little day to decompress and kind of organize for the week.
Yeah.
So mainly, but from 5 o'clock on, I'm showing houses, putting contracts in. The marrying aspect's not too bad. Sometimes you just got to make sure the dates are set, because if you have prior obligations, you're set for those couples' wedding day. So it's tough.
That's super tough. I know me and you talked about this before, because I at one point I was also doing this, and I remember doing what I said, whoa, this is going to be my last one. And the reason being was I didn't have a backup, and that freaked me out. So this person has only been dreaming about this day their entire life, right? And you're going to marry them, and we commit on a day, let's just say May 10th, right? And something happens to me, I didn't have a backup person. I didn't have someone else that can fill in. So basically, it's one big giant risk on every angle.
I never thought of it as a risk.
Well, I didn't really want to scare you now.
I quit that job.
I just literally stopped because what happened with me, I was I did it, first of all, I did it for a bunch of friends who asked me to do. I wasn't really just going out doing, strangers or anything. So it was only a handful, maybe 4 or 5. And I remember the 5th one, I was like, and how it came up was I was late to 2 things. It was like some rehearsal that they had, and then actually showing up that day. And the reason was we had a little one, and the time for the dinner was this wedding was nowhere near where I live and or work. So I was like hauling, whatever, trying to get there. And I'm thinking, what if I got in a car accident? Or what if I got in X, Y, and Z? Like, this is all on me.
Yeah.
And so they were just waiting for me patiently, happy. It was nice. It was, we went through the rehearsal. And, dude, I remember my heart was pounding. And I remember leaving there, and I remember seeing, like, the dad, like, and the uncle just staring. It's like, man, I hope you pull this off. Like, good luck, dude. Don't screw this up, basically, is what they said to me. I'm like, okay. Anyway, so, not that I was intimidated by any means, but it was more of like, it just hit me like, oh my gosh, all these people with so much. That dad probably worked double shifts to pay for this wedding. You know what I mean? Like all that work and grind that went into it.
Stress.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Just being able to, I'll tell you a quick story. I married someone, and this learned really quick to be a little bit more prepared. I was printing out their ceremony the day of, and the printer was messed up. So I had to call the bride, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I couldn't print it out, so I had to find it on my phone. I got through it, but I still feel like out of like the 50 or 60 I've done, that was the only one I back now look. I'm like, I should have been more prepared. So it's all about preparation too with any job, and your day. Like you have to be organized. If you're not organized, it's never going to work. So you have to be organized, time management, and you got to keep positive, and you can't control every situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the hardest thing in my jobs is like I get yelled at for everything that I don't even have control of.
Yeah.
People are moving and shifting, and mortgages are getting collapsed, and it's not my fault. It's the person's financial stability and everything. Yeah. So it's definitely a lot.
Okay. So if someone called you a jack of all trades, what would your response to that be?
I think it's basically having life experiences beyond just work, but your personal life to transition into work itself. So, to be honest, I didn't overcome that much adversity in my life. I was very grateful to have a great family, raised really well, but I learned the value of $1 really fast once I blew up my first car that I got for free. Yeah. So from there on, my mom was like, well, you're on your own now, so try to make a value of $1 out of that. So I was like, okay. So basically, I just started working and got my second car, and then from there, I just started saving every penny in my life, which is fine. I love saving, and then I started realizing I was stressing so much about money, because money is it's a root of all evil, and it's definitely something that I learned really quickly was stressing me out when I was younger. And then as I got older, I started, making a little bit more, but also not worrying about it as much because, you can't control everything. So,
what were you saving for initially? Were you saving for something, or you're just stacking, just to stack? Yeah, just stacking out of fear.
A fear of having not a single dollar in my bank account to support myself. Yeah. That was the biggest fear of my life, probably one of them. Because if you can't support yourself, and sadly if you don't have any financial stability in a lot of these circumstances in this world, you're not going to be able to get anywhere, or you can't provide for yourself or your family or significant other or anything like that. Yeah. So I just constantly worked and didn't even party when I was younger, but I got my education. I got a bachelor's degree. Somehow only got it for $3,500. Working, delivering pizzas and everything, doing a 2-year program in 6 months. So it was definitely a lot. Wow.
So we're pizza lovers here, right?
Yes.
Are you though?
Are you really though, Jimbo? No. In all seriousness, what was the hardest part of delivering pizzas, or maybe a funny story with delivering pizzas. I know you never got held at gunpoint, have you? And I'm being serious. Every pizza delivery guy I got either got robbed or held at gunpoint. Every single person I know.
So they couldn't rob me because they couldn't drive a manual car. So I did them shifting, and I'm like, they probably screwed up my car.
Yeah.
Never got held at gunpoint, or I've been yelled at, but I just laugh. But usually I would just throw their receipt on their lawn. If they gave me like a bad tip or something, I just throw the receipt in the trash on their lawn. So I would be so mad when I was younger because I just would work so hard, and people don't understand from a service standpoint.
Yeah.
That you have your card, like the pizza place doesn't just pay for your mileage. It barely pays for it. Yeah. And then we work off of tips, sadly, and we can't always control how fast the food gets out, and they're working their buns off, and we are too. But people would just yell, "Well, it's taking this long." I'm like, "Well, you keep ordering, so there must be something right."
Yeah.
You still provide the customer service to the people, even though that they're angry. I mean, but the quick story I'll tell you is that I so I had about $80 worth of food in the bag. And I got out of my car and I dropped it all over the ground.
Oh, no.
So
man.
I picked it all up, threw it back in the bag with gravel and stuff in it. I went up to the house.
Oh my gosh.
But I was brutally honest. I said to the lady, I said, "Listen, I dropped this all on the ground. If you need to get it reimbursed or anything, please let me know." She gave me a great tip. And she said, "Nah, these are just for the kids. I really don't care."
$80 worth of food, man. How many kids was that? Was that Hex House?
The other kids got chipped teeth from the gravel.
Dude, truly lost it, but inside. But I left that, and I was like, you know what? It's all good. It was a great job, great people I worked with. But then by age of 26, 27 is when reality hit me to get into real estate and everything.
Yeah.
So that was the big thing.
So what was the transition like there, right? So you go from working at the pizza shop to real estate. Was it you're doing both still, and then you transitioned into, or?
I was at Parks Casino too in between there for 6 months. Yeah, no beard. It was terrible. So, but I just was juggling.
Were you playing poker?
So much.
What were you doing?
I was a server.
Oh, okay.
And I told them I had serving experience. Never had a lick of serving experience, but I still did well somehow. So, but I was just getting stressed out. I was working with people, hiring clients when I first started out, and I realized you had to pick between one of the two. And I was glad that everything kind of fell into place with me and Julia was kind of parting ways, and then just overall leaving Parks and just focusing on real estate, because now it's like turned into a huge snowball.
Yeah.
Literally, with everything. Very grateful for that.
Yeah, so explain to people who don't understand real estate very well when you're working with a team. So what's the importance of selecting the right team you work with?
So I've been about 4 years now with 4 different brokerages, actually, because I just couldn't find really a place to kind of call home. I worked at a couple smaller brokerages, and I worked at this place called Realty One Group for about 2 years. Before that was Solomon Realty with some great people there too that grew me into where I am. But now I'm with this place called Opus Elite Real Estate, even smaller brokerage, but we have about 45 agents, but I have a great team with Mark Yada and Vulcan and a bunch of other people too. And they kind of just took me about 2 months ago. I kind of told them, this is where I am, this is what I want, and this is my worth. You just got to prove your worth. Yeah. You can't expect everything the best right up in the beginning. You have to show your results, and you have to show who you are as a person.
Wow.
So it's definitely cool.
So a buddy of mine graduated college with undergrad, and immediately expected to earn 6 figures right out of college.
Beautiful.
So to your point, what's the importance of proving yourself, or actually going out there, making a name for yourself, working, actually getting some experience underneath your belt, and those aspects before you have an unrealistic expectation?
For sure. I mean, even in the government, I started out as a support services person making only $26,000 for the year before taxes.
Yeah.
9 years ago, and now I'm at a little bit higher, which is just a tad higher, which is nice, but you can't just expect it.
Yeah.
So with real estate, pretty much, it is about your sphere of influence. A lot of people think that they can be realtors, and I didn't think I could be, to be honest. I was like, I'm very personable, and I asked the reason why I got into it was because of one of my realtor who got me my house. I asked him, how do you like this job? It doesn't look too bad. It's like customer service. And he's like, it's a great job. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to school for it and take an exam. So I went to school, took 3 weekends off to go to school. It took me 4 times to pass this exam.
Wow. Yeah.
So.
And you have to pay every time?
Yeah, it was like $50-$60. I was like, but I knew once I passed, I just like immediately like started like crying because I was like, I'm gonna do well. I think I'm gonna do well. Like I'll do good. So the first year or two was the first 6 months were a grind. You know, I got my first listing in 2 weeks just to get my license, thinking that's gonna be great. I learned really quickly you can't just always listen to the client, you know, overall because they want to control everything, but you can't. You got to be realistic. I'm just starting out. I can't. I'm like, yeah, we'll be fine. And now I have like no patience. So I'm like, yeah. Take it or leave it with me, you know. But that's what you have to be in this business because if you're too nice, you're gonna get stomped on it, you know. So, but a lot of people respect you just being professional, you know. So, but when I first saw my first commission check, I didn't realize how much you can make. So, and then I just was like, okay, like this is pretty cool. It's like part time, and it still is part time, but I'm acting full time. So once it's my biggest thing in real estate is there's if I remember it's 3 R's. You have to be realistic with your clients on expectations. You have to be responsive. If you're not responsive at all, I mean,
that's a big one.
You can't. You have to be. I'm on the phone all night and all day, but I don't mind it because I take it as like if you're texting your friends and stuff, you know, why not just make money with it, but also just be brutally honest with them. So if those 2 things are good, between being responsive and realistic, you'll get the referrals. And referrals is my business. So you can't just expect it to just happen. I mean, all of my business is referral. I don't have a database. I don't have anything. And I don't pressure people, too. I don't wear a suit when I go show houses. I don't even go to showings. And I don't go to settlements. I go to settlements like this. Yeah. Shorts and a T-shirt. Just because I don't want people to feel pressured. You know? Yeah. And I call myself like the Adam Sandler of Realtors. Yeah. You know?
I like that.
Yeah, he's very low key.
But can you hoop?
I'm half decent.
Okay.
A little bit of a shot, you know?
I like it.
I shoot my shot, you know, when it's necessary, right? So
I do respect that.
So very grateful to have this job because now I'm going to be able to build my forever home, which is nice.
Wow. You didn't answer the question, but anyway. No, I didn't. Not at all. So in all seriousness, when we interviewed you over 2 years ago, that was literally right before the pandemic and everything happened. Mm-hmm. So explain a little bit about what life was like real estate wise with where you were, and then what has happened in the past, your experience of the past 2 years with real estate.
It was pretty steady. And then for about a month, once COVID and the governor shut us down, we couldn't see houses. You couldn't go into houses because of COVID. Everyone was freaking out. And I remember the day that he said, you can show houses again. And we went that night. And then from there on, it's been a blur for 2.5 years. Wow. Of just nonstop people. The inventory is so light. You know, people are coming from New York, North Jersey, Philly, South Jersey, everywhere.
And for reference, everyone, we're in Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, very desirable, some reason or another, but I think the reason why is because we're so close to the big, like 5 hours from Boston, 3 hours from DC, hour and 15 from New York. Philly's right around the corner. I love it here. You know, it's great. So I think overall, you know, the interest rates were low and they were great, and so for a year and a half, the people were just getting 2.5, 2.25, 3%. So that's going to drive people to want to sell their house, and it's going to want people to buy a house because the monthly payment now in differential is $300 to $400 a month for the same house, that same price. So now it's still strong, and the inventory is it's getting a little better, but the interest rates are 5.5% to 6%, you know. But that's not stopping my clients to get a house, but they're just starting to realize like it's just overwhelming. Yeah. And it still is overwhelming. My job is very overwhelming. It's not as easy as what people think it is. You know, it could be smooth for 40 days, and then the 41st day there can be a train wreck, and then you have to think on your feet like really fast. And that's what that job is too, is you have to learn to adapt to a situation, not get too stressed, but kind of analyze and interpret what you have to do. So for right now, COVID's it's still there. You know, just it's still kind of weary with COVID going on with the guidelines, but it's not as close to as it used to have to sign forms to send to the agent saying you haven't been exposed. It was just an extra step that just was stressful in itself.
What was one of the craziest deals you did within that time frame? It doesn't have to be money-wise, just the whole thing was just insane.
Like last month, I could tell you. There's so many stories. The day of closing, it was a train wreck all the way up to that point, and the sellers, my buyers were buying the house, the sellers were moving out to a new house in Levittown, and this was in Northeast Philly, and they're like, we're going to move our stuff out, that morning, we're good to go, everything, and the agent's like, everything's pretty much out, and it's just a couple things. I'm like, okay, that's great. So I get there, I always get to my walkthroughs about 45 minutes to an hour earlier. Thank God I did, because I met the sellers, really nice people. Everything was still in the house.
Oh my gosh,
And
the day of?
The day of, yeah. And the closing was 2 hours ahead of time.
Wow.
Why?
So they are like, well, we're living here. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah.
Not no more.
You said, you told me. They're still. I said, you told me you guys were going to be pretty much done. They're like, yeah, but the movers were coming a couple hours later. And I was like, that's fine. I don't get mad. I just was like, all right, I helped them out, and I actually became really good relationship with them afterwards. My buyers were freaking out. I'm like, listen, there's nothing I can do. These people live here, and it's gonna get done. And I helped those buyers. I even called my dad to come try to help out. Didn't even need him to help though, but. Yeah, that was probably one of my stressful transactions of my life. And,
I just got stressed out listening to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
Crazy.
It's a stressful job, but it's very rewarding, and there's a lot more rewarding aspects than stress. It's 70-30 to not stress to stress, and that 30% is one of those 30% experiences. But you just got to learn you can't control it. And in the beginning of my career, I used to be really I'm freaking out. I can't control it, but there's probably 30 to 40 moving parts and people I talk to per transaction. When you have 8 to 10 transactions going on, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of personalities you have to adapt to.
Yeah.
I mean, every deal has an inspector, an appraiser, a loan processor, loan underwriter, lender, loan officer, the title company clerk. I mean, the 2 buyers, 3 buyers, whatever. Title right inspector. It's a homeowner's insurance guy. I mean, I can keep going. But that's per transaction. But you just gotta learn to just deal with it, and you start to build relationships with people you trust, and you just start using that same group of people, and each transaction turns into a result that everybody's happy with. So COVID was a blessing. I mean, I sold, I don't even know, probably 10 million my second full-time year, and third full-time year 11 million almost. So it's wow. Part-time, I'm very grateful, and I don't ever tell numbers to people, but I just keep a very low profile. I still drive a station wagon, so it doesn't really change. I don't drive a Beamer. Yeah. I would love to have a Beamer though. So. But I'm looking at one eventually. But no, my house is first, and my family's first, especially for finances. So if my family ever needs help, that's I think the biggest thing is financially. It's helped me immensely, and I'm very grateful to help. Then I can always help my family and my friends and myself too. Yeah, so it's cool.
Wow, that's awesome. So have you ever sold a house or had a transaction take place and also marry someone in the same day?
Actually, yeah. My friends of mine I did. So they were getting married, and right before the ceremony, I found out that we got their house under contract. The same day.
That's wild. That is wild.
And those people, shout out to Joe and Kaylee. They're great people, and I just met them, a week or 2 weeks beforehand, and now they have 2 kids and a dog, and they're building their. It's we're so grateful for you. It's like that to me is worth more than the money and everything, because people respect me for my character, and it's a really cool, it's just a great job, because real estate's it's not sales. It really isn't. You're just a project manager, or I call it a glorified messenger, to be honest. You're that in-between stress ball between not having them both choke out each other, But it's, the house sells itself. I never put the pressure on people, but I'm also very realistic. If they want me their opinion, I tell them straight up what's up with it. Yeah. So that was probably the only time, and it was really cool. And I still marry people and put them in houses, I give them incentives, to hook them up if they're cool. I
love that.
That's cool. That's awesome.
He said if they're cool.
No, they're cool with it. You know what I mean? Most of the people are really cool. I deal with some people who are tough and difficult, but at the end of the day, I don't ever have shouting matches, and and they're stressed out. I mean, no one buys a house every day. I deal with it every day. So I can understand 40 days worth of stress, but most of the clients I work with aren't too stressed out, because I give them what they need up front in the beginning, and it turns out to be a pretty good result with the checklist I give. And it's communication. It's just like relationships. You have to have communication, friendships, communication, and then, real estate's communication. All jobs have to have communication.
Yeah.
I feel.
So if there's a young person right now thinking to jump into, it doesn't even have to be a young person, just someone in general, anyone who's wanting to get into real estate and be an agent or an investor, what would your piece of advice be for them?
The first thing is, if you do want to become an agent, you have to go with a brokerage that is a bigger company, like your Keller Williams and your Century 21s. And, I will say, of all the companies I've seen, they have the best training. They're not my type of vibe to work with, but I respect everybody there and everything. But they have a ton of training, and they're building their agents and beginning to grow, and they're helps them. The commission splits might not be as high, but you get in training what you need is to be a successful realtor. Me, I didn't do any of that. I just learned on the fly. I didn't take any training. I just had people to support behind me. I was just writing contracts, not having no idea what I was doing. But you can't. The thing is, real estate, you can't learn from school. You have to learn from experience. You can't teach interest rate fluctuations and how that it pertains to the contract, or what is getting your deposit back within 30 days instead of 60 days or 180 days. What other loopholes can you do to help with your clients to protect them? There's only so much that the test can do. You just gotta learn as you go. Can't teach them mold. You can't teach what's wrong with the house. It's definitely I just tell people if they're going to get an investment. Investing is a lot harder. You want to have that capital up front or the investors to do it. But this market is not the strongest for investors because you're paying a top dollar unless you're getting something that's off market and you're able to get it for a good price. Interest rates again are really high. As investment properties, some of them you have to put 20% down. It just depends on the programs and everything like that, but you need to have the money up front to really put into it, because material alone is expensive just to renovate and stuff. I'm dealing with it right now.
So you're renovating right now. So you, in the past, since we last talked, you had a home, sold it, with proceeds, bought your dream home. Okay, so explain that process a little bit. Because you were having fun with your smaller house.
Love my house.
Yeah, you gutted it and did everything to it.
It's crazy. I mean, I was just sitting in my chair doing real estate work, and my friend, she calls me. She put on the Facebook, shout out to Lindsay. She was like, Snowball Gate for whatever price. It was like a lot higher, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And everyone was blowing it up. There was like a million of comments. And then she's on the phone with me. She's like, why don't you go buy it? I'm like, I got to sell my house. And I don't really want to sell my house, but the market was still strong, and I just refinanced it. When you refinance, your closing costs go back up for your payoff. Like if you owe 160, you owe 165, 168, so it's a little more money. And I was like, I gotta sell my house. She's like, just go look at it, because it was the area that I wanted since I was literally delivering pizzas. I'm like, one day I'm going to be in this area. It'd be cool. Stupid. Now I'm here.
So when you're delivering pizzas, you're literally delivering pizzas to this section in this town.
Yeah.
And that was like dream building for you. You say, one day I'm going to live in a house like this.
Amazing that, Levittown would be my dream home,
Yeah.
So, pretty much I went and saw the house. The outside it's a huge corner lot, and I didn't even have to look in the house. I was like, yep, I'm just going to buy this house. I don't even care.
That's hilarious.
And it's wild because, I met the seller, and it was a very delicate and sad situation. I won't go too crazy into that, but basically, I gave them the time they need. I got the terms that I wanted. And then once I got my house, I sold my house 30 days, 35 days, no problem. And then when I got my house, I got it in October. And then I started going through the process of material costs, and everything just got jacked up about 30-40%. So what I'm paying now is going to be thousands of dollars more. But I don't really care, because I'm going to be able to just make it the way I want to.
Yeah.
You can't, the problem is I just was when like I told you younger, I was always stressed about, money, I'm never going to get it back. But I'm like, I don't even care anymore, because I'm just like, it's going to be I'm not going to sell it. So
yeah.
But I'm dealing with
unless your friend Lindsay calls you again.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna sell my own house, man. Man, I don't want to pay anybody else. So, but for me, I'm going through it right now, where it's at the roughing stage, and it's cool to see your thoughts come out onto I guess in reality, and it's like once it gets fully done, it's going to be, I want it to be the best looking house that someone's ever seen, because not only for my job, but for myself, it's something you want to come home to. Like a lot of people have their kids. Their kids are their pride and joy, their cars. Mine's going to be my house, because I want to walk into it. I want people to see, like, this is what you can do. This is what you can achieve, Yeah. But the problem is a lot of people get the challenge with, being successful or being, where you're at, is people are envious, or people will try to shoot you down. And the problem is you just got to block out it's all about the energy. You can't keep that bad energy around, and you just have to keep going and not worry about it. And a lot of people will be your support staff there, especially your friends, and that's who your real MVPs are, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So are you doing the work yourself, or you're hiring folks to do specific projects? Are you living there while it's going down?
No, I'm living just with family.
Yeah.
I can barely even I can't even turn a wrench, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really can't. I mean, I really freak out if I can't even turn on a fan or something like that. I'm like, it's broken. I call someone. My shower
the chain pool was gone.
Right? He's hitting the switch.
Like my shower head broke just a couple days ago, and I haven't had a shower.
Hysterical. And I haven't
had a shower.
I just have to shower somewhere else because I don't even know how to do it.
Dude's in a bucket of water.
I'm just outside with
splashing on his head,
spraying with a hose with water and Dawn soap at this point, But no, I hired my friends. Shout out to Cliff and Jim Crossley and all them, and James Cologne and all them from contracting groups and everything, just helping me out to get where I need to be. And it's getting there, but it's stressful as all anything dealing with the Middletown Township. They're just difficult with me, and I'm not bad mouthing them, but I'm kind of am, because they just are stressing me out. So I demoed my whole house, and apparently you needed permits. I thought you could get the permits after you demoed the shells, but they were tough on me. So, but it's finally getting to where I need to be. So it's cool. You just gotta keep rolling and just not stress about everything in life.
So, all right. So obviously a lot going on, right? A ton of moving parts. When that happens, obviously it brings along stress. So I know drumming is one of the things that helps relieve that for you. Now, how many drum sets have you gone through from beating the daylights out of it? So explain drumming a little bit and how it helps you.
Music?
Or just music in general?
Yeah, I mean, music alone, it's the best thing to me that gives me that outlet to have that sense of euphoria, to keep... It's a therapeutic thing. There's times it's weird when you drum or play music, you start crying, because it's just it's a sense of euphoria. Playing, it's a different feeling. It's a vibe. I started playing from Guitar Hero, believe it or not.
You're saying that.
Yeah, so I learned from Guitar Hero. My brother was like, dude, why don't you just try real drums? I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's a whole nother ballgame. And it took me, I never put on, I got my first drum set with my friend. Shout out to Chris, I tried playing Linkin Park, and I immediately was just drawn into playing drums. And then I don't know how to read music or anything, so I just learned from just ear taught. So, a lot of people are technically sound and technically with everything. So for me, I have a different philosophy where it's just free flowing, and you just go with the flow literally and just learn as you go. It's just like with my jobs. I'm not I just learn from experiences. But playing drums, I have 3 now, 1 electric, 2 acoustic, and but I'm ready to keep playing. We're playing next Thursday, Cooper's Riverview, with my band. So it's called Tailspin. So it's pretty cool.
That.
Yeah, it's something different.
Are you Baloo?
What's that?
Are you Baloo?
I could be.
So the whole thing is multitasking. So now you've thrown another wrench into the mix, right? You have a band, right?
Yeah, it's almost 2 pretty much, but 1 primarily. So it's just time management, though. It's a lot. I mean, when you have a full-time job during the day, it's a lot of hours that chews up. Not that's a bad thing, but I'm on my phone probably 8. It says 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, probably. Just constantly getting updates or notifications, or go get your Starbucks type of stuff.
Yeah, that's very important. Are there things you do for energy, like coffee or anything like that?
I drink a little bit of coffee, but honestly, I really don't drink too much. I don't really do too much for energy. That's just me as a person. Luckily, You know, I don't mind talking about mental illness. Like I have OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. You know, I have ADD, which isn't too bad, but you know, I have high anxiety. It's really hard to deal with, but it also has its pluses with my jobs and being on task. But personally, it is a struggle every day. I deal with stress, you know, personally, a lot of issues that happen within myself. But I tell people, especially anyone who's listening with this, is that there is help, you know, and, you know, getting that right help if you need it, you know, or just coping with it and just learning to. You know, I always advocate for people to go to a doctor or psychiatrist or something like that to get the help they need. Talk to people, talk to your friends, and just be able to not be afraid, because that's where I was for a lot of my life. And then when I started seeing people or talking to people who support me, it's helped me to where I am today, for sure.
I love it.
Yeah.
So speaking of staying on task and staying focused, what is the importance of staying focused, right? And so you can have, you know, there's somebody else who's a jack of all trades out there right now, but they're all over the place, right? And so you have a specific goal, even just right now, you're doing all these things, but your focus is to get your house done, right? Yep. And so you have a focus, you have a goal. What's the importance of having that?
Honestly, it's just, I have to write everything down, you know, because or in a planner now, I'm starting to be more organized. So,
and private.
You know, very private, and it's actually been a blessing in that way, because I'm a very just rambunctious and social media heavily driven person. But the problem is, I started learning is that I started hearing people's opinions on my personal relationships in my past or something like that, and it really starts to piss me off, because it's like you don't want. People just judge, and then it's just they don't know what you're doing. So now I've gone a more private route with my personal life, especially with a new special lady and everything. So it's definitely learning so much about myself. It's very overwhelming, and I'm very grateful. But overall, it's just I don't know. You just got to keep rolling. Just writing everything down and staying on task. If you don't stay on task, you're gonna crumble, and you got to constantly have notifications set up. And if you don't, I have to have notifications. If I don't have notifications set up, I'm gonna forget. I have a short-term memory.
Yeah.
So
staying focused, you have task lists.
Yeah.
Whether it's either writing down or something in your phone, maybe your notes or something, and then obviously reminders elsewhere, email or whatever.
Yeah, emails. I mean, I'm addicted to email. Yeah. But checklists, I have transaction management system for real estate. We have that, and thank God, because I don't know what I would do without DocuSign, because I could not do my job. I would not want to drive to drop you off a contract an hour away when it could take literally a minute for you to sign.
Yeah.
But you have to explain everything. So without DocuSign, I would fail.
Yeah.
So that helps me stay on task, and just being able, like I said, you have to sit down, and the problem is I don't sit down and think sometimes. I'll just keep going. And then when I finally sit down and look over everything, I have to plan out certain things, even though if I don't want to, because if I don't stay on task, it could falter every business and personal life that I have thing going for me.
Yeah.
And you have, like you said, from the beginning, you're dealing with people who've planned their wedding 2 years ahead of time, and if you screw that up, it's your head's on the chopping block. I love the pressure.
Yeah.
It's not pressure anymore, but it's just I love the execution between getting my house or marrying them, and being able to be that person in their special days of their lives. It's just a self-rewarding thing for me. It's networking.
There is, because you're going to sell them a house too. Yeah. And there is something about that pressure. There's something there where you're kind of operating out of, it gives a different type of energy where something's due, or you're about to kill it.
Yep.
There's probably no better feeling than you're about to crush this. You're prepared, you're ready to rock and roll. And you're like, I'm about to put on a show.
Yep.
There's something about that, and that could be actually addicting itself.
It's great. I love being in front of people. I get more nervous when it's one-on-one or a small group of people, where it's playing music or just marrying people, because it's very specifically focused within that little group.
Yeah.
If it's hundreds of people, it's whatever. I'm not, I don't even look at the people. Just get scared looking. I look at the air. I don't even look at the people, because they don't even know what you're looking at. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you just gotta keep your eye contact out there, and you gotta project yourself with confidence. Whether you're not, but it's just, it took a while for me a couple times to understand it. And now once you start giving the confidence and telling the people, you're marrying, like, I'll take care of you and everything. It's great. And then real estate, you have to have a strong support system. I have, a great title company with All Service Abstract. Like, again, people in my real estate company with Opus Elite, but also even the community of realtors that I even pick their brains with, or, people just around, because there's so many people who have so much knowledge around here, and then you can just, it's free. It's literally free knowledge. I mean, it's just getting the free education, and a lot of buyers and clients and people, and they aren't educated, and when you try to tell them, even when you're right, they think you're wrong, and you just gotta let it go. It's just, it's tough.
So let's change gears a little bit. Embracing and recognizing opportunity. So when you're talking to couples who appear to have a built-up relationship, are engaged, and are wanting to get married, have you ever said no to anybody or any couple? And if not, would there be a couple or a situation where you think you would say no?
I think I've said no maybe a handful of times, but that's because they want to do some like shady stuff, like with benefits and stuff, and I don't want to get involved in that stuff. That's the main reason. I just don't want to get involved in that type of stuff. But for the most part, no. But if it's something that is a personal issue, if I have someone with someone, which is rare, I mean, I wouldn't do it. But I marry anybody. I've married enemies of enemies, friends of friends. I've done it all. But also getting to your opportunity, going to my real job, my full-time job, my second one is taking this new job. I'll be taking an executive assistant role. So, I've been wanting this type of title for years, and it's very hard to get into. It's very slim chance of being qualified, and I still have to go through the qualifications aspect, but like, I'm going to be able to work for work on electric vehicles and kind of the environment itself. I was not an environmentally conscious person at all before starting. I sadly threw trash out the window because I didn't care, but now I look back like I'm an idiot, So, but, you have to take risks with opportunity, and that's really all it is. Opportunities don't just come up as like, hey, here you go, it's going to work out fine. I think every opportunity does have a risk because you don't know what the outcome's going to be until you really try it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I was also in a random conversation with a friend of mine, and for whatever reason, we start talking about working hard and just legit raw hustle, and why some days you got to just suck it up, baby bear, and you got to just go. Like, no matter what you're going through, mental, emotions, sometimes before you just got to get the job done, and you just got to go. Yes, that's not to discount anything you're going through. That's not to overshadow anything you're going through emotionally and mentally. None of that. It's just sometimes the job just needs to get done. You get through it. But can you talk a little bit about just straight, we call it raw hustle, just getting the job done?
I mean, real estate, there's no off clock. It's a sacrifice. I mean, it's 24/7. I have people send me houses at 11 o'clock at night, and I can be sitting on my couch just trying to enjoy dinner, or someone calls me, or if they need to call. And the problem is it's a weakness of mine, is you have to say no sometimes, or I'll call you the next day. The problem is with real estate is that people are so impatient with this market because they want a house yesterday. So they feel like if you don't get back to them in time, you're just not doing your job, but you really just need to take a break. And a lot of people, especially some clients, they don't realize that I have a personal life too, or would like to have one sometimes, but I don't really tell them, hey, I'll still drop a hat for them because that's my job. My job is to cater to their expectations and meet their expectations that they need. So I think constantly going and showing houses, knowing that I'm not getting them the house because I know they have no chance. But I just show it to them just to show it to them but then after a little bit they start to realize what they have to do, and it's a grind just trying to keep them level-headed because they're so stressed with moving out of their apartments and moving different things, and they don't even know if their mortgage is going to be cleared till 2 days beforehand. And they could be moved out and done, and then their mortgage can collapse. I've had that happen, and I've had people in tears. But at the end of the day, like, real estate, you can't put your emotional side to it. It's a business, and I've been in emotional transactions, and it's actually hurt me in certain ways from the real estate aspect, because they just get too tied to you at a personal level. But you're just, I have still, all my clients, I still have personal relationships when I'm done, because that's just who I am.
Yeah.
And some people, it's business, but that's just who they are as people. And but you constantly have to be on the go, and hustle doesn't stop. I mean, I enjoy it though. Like, yeah, I don't complain. I like being 24/7. I like being able to just keep going, because it's my medicine to keep calm. If I was at home, I would have so much anxiety because I can't sit still. Yeah. So if I sit still and I'm calm, my mind starts to race, and it starts to just go into a rabbit hole. Yeah. So being able to constantly work and keep it going and grind, it's a very rewarding thing. And I just had a closing today. I mean, they closed, and it was great, and they're having a kid within 2 months. Wow. So it's a really cool feeling, and they're just appreciative. They were, they couldn't believe how fast everything was, how efficient it was. And that's the young goal, is to make sure at the end of the day, the end game, that they're calmed down and they're ready. They're ready for their next chapter too.
It's crazy, man. You're establishing yourself in people's like most monumental times of their lives.
I love it.
It's wild.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It turns into networking, like I said before. Not that I try to force networking on, but with married people, when they're done getting married, there's people who call me and they're like, "Oh, I liked your ceremony. Can you marry us?" Yeah. And I always slip in like, "Yeah, I'll marry you too." And then usually when they get my email, they see I'm a realtor, and then I don't push it on them, but then they see it and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm looking for a house in like 6 months," or "I want to buy a house yesterday." I'm like, "Okay, well, let's go." And then I get them a house in like 2 weeks. Yeah. Wow. It's scary. I meet people at open houses. That's where I get people too, who've never met me, and they just immediately, it's a connection. You have people. It's a chemistry, weird business connection, because they have to trust you to get the job done. And you just got to talk to them and just be real. You don't talk to them in a scripted way, and most people work scripted. You just be real, you be honest, and people want to be with someone who's real and not someone who's fake. Yeah. Especially in real estate. Yeah. There's a lot of fake people I've seen in my past, but I respect a lot of people, pretty much everybody in the real estate community, because we're all grinding, and some of us, they're struggling and trying to get their buyers out of a situation and listings to sell fast and make sure it goes smooth. But I'm dealing with stuff right now that's nightmares, but you have to keep going with it.
Yeah. Are you sticking with residential? Is there plans to go commercial? Is that like a whole other beast you don't even want to touch? I mean, what's the mentality there?
That's a whole other beast I'm not even ready to touch. I want to get into commercial, but I don't have clients, sadly, who want to go into commercial. I deal with a lot of Levittown, Lower Bucks people, and I love it. I love putting people in Levittown houses, because that's where I grew up. Yeah. And I know that's the back of my home, and I can't believe they're going for the price that they are. But but overall, people they go from Lower Bucks, then they want to go move to somewhere else in 5 to 7 years. But I've traveled to Gilbertsville, Schweigsville for house sales.
What's eating Gilbert's grape?
Yeah.
What so just one final question with real estate. If there's someone out there that's looking to purchase a home now in this market, what things would you recommend them have in alignment so that it can go as smooth as possible? Now, in saying that, we all know it's not going to go perfectly smooth, but as smooth as possible is what I'm saying. What things should they have in alignment, ready to go, if they want the smoothest, transaction?
Great question. I can get a book on that too. Most of all my clients, before I even show them a house, they get pre-approved for a mortgage. Okay. So I always tell them to get their bank statements. Past couple months of bank statements, past 2 years of W-2s, your tax returns for the past 2 years, picture your driver's license, and last 3 pay stubs are your first things. If you have all that documentation up front and you get approved, great. The next part is your credit score. Credit is a big thing, sadly, with real estate, and the lower your credit score, the higher your interest rate is, and also could affect other premiums to go up as far as your mortgage insurance and everything too. So credit, please keep in line as best as you can. Not everyone can, and that's okay. I've gotten people in under 610 credit scores in houses, 600, and then the third thing is saving up as much as you can. Now, I know that you can't save up $30,000. It's very hard, especially in this world right now we live in. But there are different programs and down payment assistance programs for my clients. And one thing I'm proud of is that I last year there's a thing called Seller's Assist where you help. The seller helps pay for the buyer's closing costs out of their own proceeds from the sale. I think last year I tallied over just about $150,000 in Seller's Assist for all my clients.
Wow.
In 1 year. So, this month alone, I've got $35,000, for 2 clients, to bring almost the bare minimum that they need, which is like $12,000 to $15,000. So,
wow.
And they pay for that in the mortgage standpoint, but they're not bringing that money up front, and they're grateful for that. It's Seller's Assist is almost impossible in this market, but you have to just find the right house at the right time, and it's got to be on the market for a certain time. When people are willing to take it.
Yeah, obviously it got to make sense.
Yeah,
yeah, for that situation.
And you can't beat yourself up if you don't get the house. Like, you just gotta keep your head up and just be positive. And it's just like a relationship. The house will come along at the right time. It's just, you can't rush it. It's an investment for your future, and that's what houses are. They're not a piece of pizza. You can't just return a house. A house is something that you want to grow your family in, or you want to, just move on with your life and get to that next stage. Get that first small house and then get the house you want, or just keep. Some people like to move every couple of years. Everyone's different.
Yeah,
that's something I like about real estate and clients. Every client has a different taste, different style, different personality, which is always interesting, but and different financial situations, and that helps you analyze the situation from a number standpoint to make you better from your numbers. So
I think I said this 5 times. One final question on real estate.
It's always with me though. But always people ask me one final question, but I don't mind answering it because that's what real estate is. It's because it trickles. Trickles.
So I don't, and this had nothing to do with. For some reason, it just struck me as, as you were explaining some of your clientele. Back, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. And prior to that, people purchased what is called a starter home. They called it a starter. I don't ever even hear that anymore. And if someone said that, you're fronting. Because people are just grateful to get a home, let alone a starter home. Yeah. So that's not even said anymore. That, like, no one even says it. It's like, dog, I'm trying to get a house. Like, even if I get this house, this is it forever. I don't even care. But back in the day, I remember people was like, before when I was like in high school, my parents, we just had a starter home, and then now this is our secondary home. Like, I never hear anyone say that anymore.
Most of my clients, they are their starter homes, and they tell me they'll just be there for 5 to 7 years usually. Yeah. But I tell them, just you can be there for longer. I thought it was gonna be my house for at least 4 to 6 years. I was only, or at least 5 to 10 years, but I was only there for 4 years. But I took advantage of the market. I sold a 1-floor, 1,000 square foot house in Bristol Township for $315,000.
Wow!
And I bought my Snowball Gate house for $335,000. So transition, but it's also a shell where you're putting everything under the sun into it. It's worth it though because you can make it to exactly the way you want to. Yeah. So it's amazing. Yeah. You have to be financially I paid. I'll tell people I $1,600 a month for my 1-floor house, and this house is only $2,000. Yeah. It's only 5% down. Shout out to Gunner, both hooking me up with my interest rate. Get me the mortgage that I needed, so you have to have the right connections and people who are willing to work with you. Yeah. So
my fear was, and I didn't do it. Luckily, I had a wife that just talked some sense into. I got excited, right? And we were looking at homes. Now this is literally 10 years ago. We were looking at homes, and we knew we wanted to have kids, and we wanted a particular school district, and I was just like, oh my gosh, looking for 5 years. I'm not even exaggerating. I wasn't ready, but I was looking. I wanted to understand the market, see what I was getting myself into, and then I hit this frustration patch where there was nothing around, nothing I wanted, nothing, and we started I started looking at things I didn't want, but just to kind of get something. And then I don't know why, I got this thing of fear. It's this whole starter home thing. And that was I hadn't heard, even at that 10 years ago, I hadn't really, that was kind of fading away then. I was like, what if this isn't a starter home? I know I was going to, quote, pull the trigger because I was only going to be there for 2 to 5 years max. What happens if then I started asking, what happens if I'm there for 10 years? And that totally defeated the purpose of my plan.
Yep.
Right? And
now look at you.
Yeah. Now look at me. Overweight and everything. No, but in all seriousness, like, you think about, like, I just want to give the message that don't get desperate. Like, wait for what is for you. It's worth the wait, because then you're going to be paying the price for whatever shortcut you took prior 5 years ago, and now you have, let's just say, more family members in a house that rooms that house can even provide.
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of people go with me because I just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what house you buy. I want you just to be happy.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't depend on the commission check. I have a full-time job where it's steady. I love my job. You know, so for me, if they cancel the contract, I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, but realtors depend on this. They depend on that commission check, and it's thousands of dollars that they're losing. But for me, I'm just like, whatever. And I think a lot of my clients respect that I'm just like very laxed in that way, and they're just wanting to work with me because I just don't care. You know, but I care about getting the job done.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't care if we see 1 million houses. I don't care if we see one house. You know, as long as you're like, George, this is what I want. The numbers check out. This is everything that I'm looking for. And I'm like, all right, well, let's get it done.
Yeah.
And you do.
I love it. Gentlemen, do you guys have any questions? One last realtor question? Just kidding.
No,
1, 2,
I
3.
do.
No. Yeah.
Georgie. So I've known Georgie since what? You're 15 years old. I've
170. I was wet.
Yeah, long time. So, like, of course, I've always supported everything he's done. Like, you look in the shop, and his business cards are all over the place, and his business cards have his picture on it, so they know it's Georgie.
Yeah.
But, no, so I've also been to a couple of his venues where he played the drums.
Yeah.
So, Georgie plays drums barefooted sometimes. Yeah, so my question is, did you ever do a showing barefooted, or did you ever marry anyone barefooted?
No, but I think I might do that now.
Yeah, see?
I think the barefoot, especially, I can't do it in a house because the amount of, like, I've seen some dirty houses, and I've almost vomited.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I just cracked up.
Gabe said it well.
Yeah. And then marrying people, I've never done barefoot, but it'd be on a beach, I guess, or something, or maybe in Bristol Wharf. So something cool.
Hell yeah.
But the reason why I play barefoot because I like to feel the pedal, I like to feel the hi hat. I think it's like it's a feeling of feeling the bass drum hit, and it's I don't know.
That's how you started Guitar Center. Guitar Hero.
Same thing. Guitar Center, Guitar Hero, music, right? So.
Here are your gym shorts and a tank top in your house.
No,
I mean, that's literally how you started.
I know, and I still play topless sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Barefooted and topless.
Yeah. So, but it's I just love playing music, and like you said, having people out to support me and who've been just supportive of me made me to where I am today with my friends, my family, and everybody around me, especially you guys here today too. And everybody out there.
And that's what it is. Georgie's like a unique guy, dude. So he's very, very lovable.
Yes.
Most of the time,
he's
right?
a big, lovable bear.
So, that's what it is, really. I mean, I'm a big, hairy bear still, so that ain't going away, sadly. So I don't live in the woods yet, so maybe one day. So we'll see.
So if anyone wanted to reach out to you for any one of your trades, what's the best way? Is it social media? If so, what's your handle? And if there's a website or...
There's a website.
Pager number.
My fax, pager. No,
my fax.
Horse and buggy. No, so my biggest one is probably Instagram, where it's Georgie B from the C. It's my personal one, which I'm cool. I love people reaching out to me on there.
It's gonna be Georgie B Privacy.
Privacy. Hey, I'm learning that, and I'm actually like really enjoying it because I get stressed out because I'm learning something new and it's something I've never felt before. Yeah. But I'm learning it in a good way where it's like, wow, this is like no one needs to know everything about my life, Yeah. But it's cool. But work-wise, you can call me cell phone, but also George Berdomas Realtors, my Instagram, but you could just do Georgie B from the C. And then Facebook, George Albert or George Berdomas Realtor. And that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I love it. So is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to say?
I just would like to say, again, everybody out there who is thinking about doing anything in their career, whether it's you just want to change something or if you want to get a better job, just go for it. Keep grinding, keep going, keep moving forward, and don't give up. And if just keeping a positive vibe and having that support around you. Even if you don't have that support, go to people around you. Just try to talk to someone, whether someone you don't know, or get advice from someone randomly that could spark something that you know. And again, mental health is a very important thing to me, and I'm a very big advocate. So if you are out there struggling with mental health, you know, you can always reach out to me. Even as busy as I am, everyone's going through stuff, even myself too. So, you know, I am a very positive person, but you also, you know, everyone has their internal struggles, so don't feel like that you're alone. You know, seek help and get help, and always keep a positive outlook in life.
That was beautiful. I love it. All right, we like to wrap things up with quotes, and the first one is by Lucille Ball. Love yourself first, and everything else falls into line. Second one by Zig Ziglar. The real opportunity for success lies within the person and not the job. Jack of all trades, part 2. In this episode, we have special guest George Berdomas. We cover topics that range from multitasking, importance of focus, embracing/recognizing opportunity, raw hustle, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Lucille Ball and Zig Ziglar. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.